So
Welcome to the Black Tea Podcast.
exactly.
Vidcast.
So so it was Prime Day this week.
Yeah. I
So
I never take advantage of Prime Day. I never really look at it, and I did this time.
yeah, me either, but I couldn't help myself but to get another Echo Dot
Is
because
that
they were half price and so the Generation 5, I'll put up a picture of it. So yeah, this one has Wi-Fi built in, of course, and
yeah.
5 gigahertz, and it has a clock on the front with an LED display, but it'll also show like what track is playing, if it's playing music or that you
Yeah.
ask it the temperature, so it can use that display, which is pretty cool. And then it also has a built-in temperature sensor and a presence sensor, so it knows if someone's in the room. It can like turn the light on or turn the fan on if it gets too hot. You can set up like automations within the app to do that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool. And
Can
yeah,
you,
for
do you I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Do you have Ring? Do you have Ring?
I do have Ring. Yeah. So what did you
It
get?
work. It works with Ring though. That's what I
It
was gonna
does.
ask
Yeah.
you.
So it'll answer the doorbell too, and if it has a screen, if it's a Echo with a screen, you can see who's at the doorbell too,
Yeah.
or at the
Yeah. I
camera,
have. What's that?
or at the spotlight. So what did you get? What did you get?
Okay. So first, I have an Echo Show.
Yes.
So it sounds very similar to what you're describing. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the one I have has no screen. It just has an LED readout on it.
Oh, got it.
I'm
Got it.
showing
Got
it
it.
right now. But with the Echo Show, you can actually see who's at the doorbell or the spotlight, right?
Right.
Once you set that up.
Which is pretty cool. I should set that up with my Ring, the Echo Show.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Um, I should attempt to do that. Maybe I'll do that over the weekend.
Yeah, I have like 4 Echo Shows. So if someone rings the doorbell, they come up on every single one of them.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. All right. But what did you get? You told me you got the Spotlight Cam.
Yeah, I bought the Ring Spotlight Cam Plus.
Nice.
Two-way talk, color night vision, security siren. I just play the siren for the heck of it for
Oh
my
yeah,
neighbors.
it's fun to scare people.
And I just randomly turn on the lights. It's for my backyard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got that. I got a couple things, but that's one of the things. I set that up actually last night. Ring does a really good job with the user manual and instructions and like the mounting of the brackets and stuff like that. They make it
Oh yeah, they put the
pretty darn
screwdriver in
simple.
there. They do everything right. Like
Yeah,
they make it easy. They make it easy. Like they put everything in there. Even I've got the Ring doorbell. I've got a couple. One at my mother's house, one at my house. But they also show you like the signal level, Wi-Fi signal level, right?
yep, they do.
So what
Mine
does yours say?
mine is currently at a negative. The RSSI is a negative 67, and it's connected. It's penetrating through my living room and going down a level to my garage where there's a secondary access point, and it's connected to that one. It reads a negative 67 on my phone, and on cloud, when I look at cloud, it reads about the same. Like I think cloud read it as 64, so not that far off.
Nice, nice. So yeah, I'm looking at the Metageek page for signal strength. Like negative 67 dBm is the minimum for signal strength for applications that require very timely
Yeah,
delivery.
yeah. Typically, if you're using like voice over IP, you want to be at a negative 65 or greater,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So like when you're designing like Wi-Fi within a business and their top priority is voice over IP, I mean, which most companies are, you want to make sure that you have coverage within the area for like a negative 65.
Negative 65. You don't want to just do negative 80 because you get some
Oh
coverage,
no,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, I mean you may be able to load a web page at that, but it's not gonna be good for any kind of video streaming like a ring spotlight or doorbell, right?
Right, exactly.
Or IP cams. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Oh man,
Yes. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
No, at a negative 60, what, 63, 64, your dB, your SNR should be around 34 dB, right?
Yeah.
So that's another measurement you can look at as well. There's RSSI and then there's SNR.
RSSI, SNR, and that MetaGeek page I have up will explain the differences.
Yeah, and SNR is typically, it's more accurate. It's looking at the noise level, I guess, too.
Yeah. So that's cool. Prime Day was good, but it's raining out here. Like I was out in the Connecticut River, it's like flooding, like mad, and it just started raining again.
Yeah, because you've had pretty good weather. Here it's been in California. It's been rainy and overcast.
Yeah.
Pretty bad. And then I think last week it's starting to warm up. So it's been like in the 80s now.
Yeah, it's been raining every weekend here, on the spot. Like nice during the week, raining every weekend.
Thank you.
All right, so we talked about cameras, like Ring cameras, but what about like IP cameras? Like if you have like a bunch of IP cameras on buildings, and you need to bring them back to your network connection, what do you want to use? One of the ingenious EnStations is great for that, right?
That's right. I mean, we've been doing that for for a very long time. Yeah, I mean, we run into those situations a lot. Some cameras have Wi-Fi, but the Wi-Fi is not that great. I think the bigger cameras, right? The PTZ cameras, the ones that are used for, major like surveillance, I guess, not like your typical at home kind of camera.
Right.
Yeah, the EnStations work great for that.
Yeah, so I'll put it up. I had it up a second. I'll put it up again. So there's a new EnStation, EnStation6. So it's a Wi-Fi 6 point-to-point bridge, 19 dBi, and they're dish style, but very small. Like I would say they're like, I don't know, 3 inches. It's in the
size
spec
of
small plate.
A small dinner plate. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say a dessert plate.
Yeah.
About that size, and they come with everything you need. They're pre-configured, and now these are running at Wi-Fi 6 speed, so 1200 megabits per second. Now 26 dBm transmit power. And the nice thing is these are pre-configured, so you don't need to, set them up. You can break the pair and use them individually and change the modes and things like that if you want, right? The other nice thing about these is they're finally using a 48 volt injector, or at least with this version, the EnStation6. So you can easily get updated replacement injectors for it. It uses the EPA 5006 GR, and that injector
and the GP.
And the GP, but the GR has a reset button on it. So let's say it becomes unresponsive and you have this up on a pole, you just need to hit that reset button on the injector.
Or use the you could utilize the app as well, I think.
You could utilize the app, because these have they have a management interface, right? A 2.4 gigahertz management interface. So you could use the Wi-Fi app to connect to the 2.4 even when it's up on a pole or whatever, right? And configure it that way too.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I think the max distance on that, it's probably up to 5 miles, but we typically wouldn't, if you're trying to get like high speeds, then you're definitely going to go shorter. It's a 19 dBi antenna and 26 dBm, right? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, and I mean, so you would use these for like longer distances, I'd say, right? And which is good for IP cameras. It's a narrower beam than some of the other, like the ENH500AX, right? Which I'll put that one up next.
I would use it for, we come across, anywhere from 300 feet, 200 feet to, 1,000 feet to a couple thousand feet. But it can be utilized in a number of different ways because of the narrow beam width. It's just nicer to have because you're not just broadcasting Wi-Fi everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a little more, it's more direct, not a little more.
Yeah. So if you're going to need, let's say you're going to need like 3 pairs of these because you have cameras like off in different directions, right? You could mount 3 of these on one pole pointing in different directions. And because of that narrow beam width, they're not going to be even, they're on non-overlapping channels, obviously, but because of that narrow beam width, they're not going to be stepping on each other at all, right?
That's right.
Now, if you just needed, let's say, to bridge to a building where you had more cameras, then the ENH500AX, which I'll put up. So yeah, these have like 130 degree beam width, right? So these would be better. They're going to broadcast basically all in front of the unit. So
Yep.
It's very broad. You don't need to aim them very precisely. These are good for going like shorter distances, like bridging buildings for cameras, things like that, right? So you're not going to, these are being easier setup, I would say.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because as long as they're in front of each other, they're going to connect.
Yeah, you can just kind of throw them up and say, "Oh, it's over there," pointing in that direction.
Right. So either one of these is good. But yeah, the new EnStation6 Wi-Fi bridge, it can do very long range with a line of sight and enough elevation. They're saying it can accommodate 8K video. So
easily, because our testing, our real life testing,
mm-hmm.
the speeds were, it's pretty awesome how fast it was going in our connection.
Yeah. So, I mean, and if you're using something else, I've been getting a lot of calls lately from people that were using some other solution, maybe from someone, a company that starts with a U, and they can't find that. And I'm like, use these EnStations. We've had these for years. They're rock solid, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and so let's just talk about the installations really quick. Where do we find this being installed? Okay, so one common one, we get this a lot. It's interesting. Like if I have, I have my home, my residence, and I have a detached garage or like a shed.
Yeah.
And say I work in that shed or in that attached garage, you can create, because the price point of these things, you can create a network link between these two buildings. And if I'm working in the garage, for example, and I have like a small switch in there,
yeah,
I can connect to that switch. I can have a computer in there if I wanted to. I can my laptop in there. I could attach another AP to that. I could provide Wi-Fi within that detached garage, and it's all communicating back to the main house where the ISP is coming into. And you can do this multiple times. So that's one installation. Other installations are like the security or surveillance cameras that you're talking about. Typically you have a primary building and they have a camera out in the corner of a parking lot, and you want to get that camera to stream across that parking lot back to the main building to the security. We've done that. You can do that as well. Another two things that you and I have talked about before is RV parks and also marinas. That's a common one as well. So if I'm trying to provide Wi-Fi at the end of a dock, for example, and rather than running the cable, which we prefer, right? Typically run a cable, you can shoot the signal to the end of the dock, attach another AP. All your boaters can connect to that AP, and the signal is being sent back wirelessly to the primary unit that's at the marina station or wherever it may be, and then they have internet access from there. And then RV parks are similar to that as well, where you're doing point-to-point to different locations within the park,
mm-hmm.
and making a primary connection from maybe the front area or the main RV office where it has ISP services. You're shooting the beam out to a remote location where there are other where RV parks are, and you have an access point out there serving those. So that's another installation. But Jeff, are there other ones that I'm missing?
No, I mean those are a lot of the main ones. We hear barn a lot, so I have a barn on the property. I work out of that. I need Wi-Fi inside there, And another thing, when you do use these, you're not gonna. It's not like if you're, let's say, using access point and repeater mode, you lose like 50% of the throughput on every hop. With this bridge set, you have 100% of your throughput going over that bridge.
Yep.
And then you would put another access point in the end of it. Now, I wouldn't, when you talk about marinas and campgrounds, I'd be careful there. Like, I wouldn't use it as a solution. I'd only use it to maybe, like you said, bridge one main area to another main area if you can't run cable, because what we found is it can get very complicated very fast, right? Like,
if you have too many,
sure. Because you still have to work, you still have a limited number of channels that you can run on, and if you have a bunch of access points and then you have bridges and they're on, you know, adjacent channels, you're gonna have problems, right? So you have to if you have a lot of them, you have to be thoughtful about your channel selection on both the bridges and the access
about
point.
Your channel selection on the point to points, right?
Yeah.
And because it's a narrow beam, you can get away with some, right? But not like you start doing a lot of them.
Yeah.
That's when you start to run into maybe some issues. So
yeah.
it can be very troublesome when you're trying to troubleshoot like 10 links along with like 30 access points or whatever it may be, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly.
And you have RVers that can't connect, right? They're like, what's going on? Or you know, there's a lot of things to consider within the RV park world and the marina world, really.
Yeah, and what we're seeing in the RV parks is that you need, there's so many devices now, and they're moving up to like a higher level, what they're charging on these parks and stuff. So you really should have more access points in like closer to the sites, and you're gonna have to wire them anyway. So
yeah, you're basically saying that the budgets have risen.
Yeah.
With, like RV parks, right? So they can afford to run cable, for example.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and they're gonna be better off for that. But yeah, the EnStations are great, and we should be getting this EnStation6 in pretty soon. They're actually calling it like an invisible wire, which is what I've used to describe it for a while. Like when people ask, how does this work? It's like you run a wire, but it's through the air, right?
Yep.
Basically.
Yeah.
You have Ethernet at both ends, and these kits come with everything else you need, mounting and power, so it's pretty cool. All right, anything else you want to talk about this week, Brian?
Nope, just have a good weekend.
All right, have a good weekend, everybody. Let's get to work and sell some stuff.